Hello everyone. Today we will talk about endocrine system. Uh, well, so endocrine. We will discuss about endocrine system. This is a lecture outline. This is objectives. Endocrine system. As we know, endocrine system includes the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, and adrenal gland. So we can classify endocrine system into two: pure endocrine glands and mixed. You know, pure endocrine glands are pituitary gland, pineal gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, and adrenal gland are pure endocrine glands. They serve only as endocrine system. They contain tissues of endocrine system. But there are also others which have both endocrine and other glandular or other nervous functions. For instance, testes in male, ovaries in female contains endocrine tissue. Pancreas having two parts, endocrine, exocrine parts and like pancreatic which secretes pancreatic juice. So having exocrine glands and isotrophic glands, so endocrine parts. So the other is thymus and hypothalamus here. Hypothalamus here are mixed. Hypothalamus is known as neuroendocrine organ. Neuroendocrine gland means have both nervous system function as well as endocrine function. So, but pineal gland, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, and adrenal glands are pure endocrine glands. So, pineal gland is found on the posterior part of the epithalamus here, whereas pituitary gland is like onion-like appearance, which is found below hypothalamus or found in the sella turcica and the sella turcica of sphenoid bone on the base of the brain, and thyroid gland is found on the anterior neck here, and parathyroid glands are found posterior part of the thyroid gland having 4 dots, so they are found on the posterior portion of thyroid gland. And also here hypothalamus also found here, and thymus is found on this area posterior to the sternum, and pancreas is found on the base of the stomach or inferior posterior part of the stomach, and testes are found in the male here, and the female is ovaries. All are these serves as endocrine. We will see in endocrine system, especially the major pure endocrine glands we will cover in this chapter. So endocrine system is a series of ductless glands. As we know, glands divide into 3. One is endocrine system, the endocrine glands. The second is exocrine glands. The third is paracrine glands. When we see endocrine glands, they are ductless. Glands. They secrete their messenger molecule or hormones into circulation, or we can say bloodstream. So they secrete hormones or secretions into bloodstream or into the blood vessels or circulation. But in the case of exocrine glands, secrete their secretion and release through ducts because they have duct. In the case of exocrine glands. But in the case of paracrine glands, the third is paracrine gland. Paracrine is secretes their secretion and releases through diffusion. So the main type of endocrine glands are ductless glands. They secrete their messenger molecule or hormones into the circulation or blood stream. So through the bloodstream or through the blood, hormones move throughout the body. throughout the body, and also act on their target areas or in the receptor areas. Circulating hormones. The circulating hormones travel to distant body cells, and signal characteristics physiological responses in those cells. Through its hormonal signals, endocrine system controls and integrates the through its hormonal signals, endocrine system controls and integrates the function of other organ system in the body. So endocrine system also, like nervous system, having the function of controlling and integrating the function of other organ systems in our body. In its general integrative role, the endocrine system resembles the endocrine system similar to the nervous system, which is closely interacts. By the way, endocrine system and nervous system having close relationship based on their function. Okay, close relationship. So in turn, there is also differences between endocrine system and nervous system. For instance, hormones travel more slowly than nerve impulses. By the way, nerve impulse is for nervous system, hormone is for endocrine system. This is a difference, because and the other is due to hormones is for endocrine system. Hormones are travel more slowly than nerve impulses. Conversely, nerve impulses move or travel more fastly or more quickly as compared to hormones. So the endocrine system tends to regulate slow process due to slow traveling. Slow process such as growth, metabolism are controlled by endocrine system. But actions or activities which needs fast responses, which demand rapid responses, such as contraction of skeletal muscle, demand or needs nervous system. So in the case of skeletal muscle contraction, for instance, when we are speaking, our tongue or our facial expression also moves. This action, this fast rapid action, when we are moving our hands, our legs, these are due to contraction of skeletal muscle. This contraction of skeletal muscle is controlled by impulses also released by nerves. Okay, nerves. So this the characteristics of hormone and the characteristics of nerve impulse and also their movement, slow and fast movement, distinguishes nervous system with endocrine system, but their integrative and control activity is makes them similar, those two systems. Okay, those two systems. So the next is some major processes controlled by endocrine systems are, for instance, activities which is controlled by endocrine system are growth of the body, our body grows, reproductive organs like testes, like ovaries, like other reproductive organs also controlled by endocrine system. The mobilization of body defense against stress. When there is stress, there is also defense mechanism to control that stress. Maintenance of proper blood chemistry, control of the rate of oxygen used by the body cells. These are activities controlled by endocrine system. The scientific study of hormones and the endocrine gland is known as endocrinology. Endocrinology studies about hormones and endocrine glands. So this is known as endocrinology. Endocrine cells of the body are partly contained within pure endocrine glands. Endocrine cells of the body are partly contained within pure endocrine organs and partly within organs of other body system. Pure endocrine, so that by the way, there are endocrine cells on the body found within pure endocrine glands as well as with other organs of the body. Let us see first pure endocrine organs. The first one is pituitary gland, the second is pineal gland, the third is thyroid gland, the fourth is parathyroid gland, the fifth is endocrine gland. These glands are considered to be pure endocrine glands. Pituitary gland found on the base of the brain. On the base of the brain, especially on the sphenoid bone, especially on the sella torsica area, is in the sella torsica of sphenoid bone is a place for pituitary gland. A place for pituitary gland. The pineal gland is on the roof of diencephalon. By the way, on the roof of diencephalon having three parts: hypothalamus, thalamus, and epithalamus. So on the posterior, on the supra-posterior part of the epithalamus, there is pineal gland. So epithalamus is the part of diencephalon which is found on the roof. So pineal gland also found in the brain. So the other is thyroid gland and parathyroid gland. So thyroid gland is found on the in the anterior neck, and posterior to the thyroid gland there is also parathyroid glands. Okay. The other is adrenal glands. Adrenal glands is found on the top of the kidney, on the top of two kidneys. And each adrenal gland is actually two glands. Adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. This is to mean that, by the way, let me explain in somehow. Adrenal glands, or another name of adrenal glands, are suprarenal glands, renal glands. So these renal glands are two, which is found on the kidneys. So on the left and on the top of the left and right kidney. By the way, the right adrenal gland are it seems triangular shape, and the left adrenal gland is seems rectangular in shape. So adrenal gland also divided into two parts: the outer adrenal cortex and the inner adrenal medulla. The outer adrenal cortex is contains three regions like zona glomerulosa, zona reticularis, and zona fasciculata. The inner and these regions controls like aldosterone, mineralocorticoid, or corticoids, and also sex hormones. Mineralocorticoid is for zona glomerulosa. Cortisols are by zona fasciculata. Zona reticularis also controls sex hormones. Adrenal medulla is the center for fight or flight responses. There are cells which is known as chromaffin cells, which secretes catecholamines. Catecholamine also secretes like epinephrine and norepinephrine. This is important for fight or flight responses. So this is all our pure endocrine glands. So this is I mentioned before the five is pineal gland here, pituitary gland here, adrenal gland here, pineal gland, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, and adrenal gland is here. So organs that belong to other body systems but also contain large proportion of endocrine cells include pancreas. As I told you, there are pure endocrine glands also. Other body systems which contain endocrine cells. These are pancreas, both glandular portion and endocrine portion. Thymus also just like that. Gonads like testes for male, or ovary for female. Hypothalamus of the brain. This is known as I told you, this is known as neuroendocrine gland, having nervous system as well as glandular portion. Nervous portion plus endocrine portion. So because of the hypothalamus produces hormones in addition to performing its nervous function, it is considered as neuroendocrine organ because having nervous function as well as endocrine function because of secretion or producing hormones. Also other numerous other organs like heart, like endocrine tissues are found in the heart, in the digestive tract, kidney, skin. Also contains scattered or small pockets of cells that secrete hormones. And this also some tissues also found on this which secrete hormones. Okay. The other portion is the control of hormone secretion. control of hormone secretion. Various endocrine cells of the body are stimulated to make and secrete their hormones by 3 major type of stimuli. Endocrine cells of the body are stimulated to make and secrete their hormones by 3 major types of stimuli. So the 3 major types of stimuli is: 1 is hormonal stimuli, 2 is neural, 3 is hormonal stimuli. So humoral stimuli, neural stimuli, and hormonal stimuli. Endocrine glands that secrete their hormones in direct response to changing levels of ions or nutrients in the blood are said to be controlled by humoral stimuli. Humoral relating to the blood or other body fluids. This means that when there is change in the ion or nutrient in the blood, so endocrine glands secrete their hormones in response to these changes. Meaning, if it is decreased, to increase; if it is decreased, to increase; if it is increased, to decrease. So this type of stimuli is known as humoral stimuli. So humoral is related to the blood and body fluids, other body fluids. So secrete hormones in response to changes in the level of ions or nutrients in the blood. The second is, this is the simplest endocrine control mechanism. So the cells of parathyroid gland directly monitor the concentration of calcium ion in the blood. So then respond to any decline in this concentration by secreting a hormone that acts to increase blood calcium level. This means that in the blood there is calcium level. If the calcium ion in the blood is decreases, so there is a response, or endocrine glands make a response to increase this calcium ion by increasing blood calcium level. So to make our body balance, to maintain body's homeostasis, if the calcium ion in the blood is decreases, also our body or endocrine system strives to increase blood calcium level until it becomes equilibrium. So parathyroid gland controls or balances calcium ion in the blood is an example for humoral stimuli. So the second type is the secretion of few endocrine glands is controlled by neural stimuli. The secretion of few endocrine glands is controlled by neural stimuli. The second type of stimuli is neural stimuli. This is also sympathetic nerve fibers stimulate cells in the adrenal medulla. Sympathetic nerve fibers stimulate cells in the adrenal medulla to release epinephrine and norepinephrine during fight or flight situations. By the way, in this way, by neural stimuli means that some sympathetic fibers in the adrenal medulla stimulate cells in the adrenal medulla. So in this case there are catecholamines that has epinephrine and norepinephrine. So in this case, during fight or flight, this stimulation can be happen in the adrenal medulla. By this case, epinephrine is released, so fight or flight reaction will be happened. So the activity of adrenal medulla in relationship to sympathetic nerve is considered as neural stimuli. The second is, many endocrine glands secrete their hormones in response to hormonal stimuli received from other endocrine glands. This is also hormonal stimuli is the third stimuli. Many endocrine glands secrete their hormones in response to hormonal stimuli received from other endocrine glands. That is, certain hormones have the sole purpose of promoting the secretion of other hormones. This means that some organs or glands secrete their hormones in response to hormonal stimuli, meaning hormone is as chemical messenger, so that due to this messenger they will synthesize or stimulated and secrete their secretions. So an example is the hypothalamus of the brain secretes some hormones. Hypothalamus of the brain secretes some hormones that stimulate anterior part of pituitary gland to secrete its hormones. So the hypothalamus of the brain secretes some hormones that stimulate the anterior part of the pituitary gland to secrete its hormones, which in turn stimulate hormonal secretion by other endocrine glands like cortex, gonads. By the way, this tells that hypothalamus secretes their hormones or secretion and synthesize anterior part of the pituitary gland, and anterior part of the pituitary gland secretes about 8 hormones, and also these hormones will stimulate another organs to secrete their hormones, like for instance cortex, adrenal corticotropic hormone, which is secreted by anterior part of the pituitary gland, synthesize cortex. Gonads like luteinizing hormone, follicular stimulating hormone is secreted by pituitary gland, so they will stimulate the gonads, like ovary. So ovary also release another hormones like progesterone and estrogen. So if you take for instance thyroid stimulating hormone, thyroid releasing hormone is secreted by hypothalamus, and thyroid stimulating hormone is secreted by pituitary, and also thyroid stimulating hormone synthesizes thyroid, and thyroid secretes secretes like S3 and F3 and F4. So I mean T3 and T4. This is also, so this activity of hypothalamus, pituitary gland, hormone secretion controls or stimulates another organ to secrete their hormones. This example is for hormonal stimuli. Okay, hormonal stimuli. So this is an example which discussing now. This is for humoral, like calcium level, how low calcium level in the blood is maintained. Capillary blood contains low concentration of calcium, which stimulates capillary low calcium in the blood. So in this case will be stimulated and will be this is controlled by parathyroid gland. This is parathyroid gland, secretion of parathyroid hormone. Parathyroid hormone also increases the calcium level in the blood. Okay, this is neural level. This is the inner part is adrenal medulla. This is sympathetic nerve fibers, and this is hormonal control. This is pituitary gland. This is hypothalamus, and pituitary gland also controls thyroid gland, adrenal cortex, testes. So this is an example. Endocrine system is a group of specialized organs and body tissues that produce, store, secrete chemical substance known as hormones. A chemical substance, a chemical messenger, which is produced, stored and secreted by endocrine system is hormone. So function of endocrine system regulates the body growth and development, controls the function of various tissue organs, support pregnancy and other reproductive function. Support pregnancy. Okay, for instance like estrogen and progesterone hormone supports the pregnancy, and also testosterone and androgen like testosterone, progesterone, estrogen hormone also important for reproductive functions, regulates body metabolism, are the function of endocrine system. Hormones are specific organ substances that act as the chemical messenger of the endocrine system. So specific organ substances, for instance hormone is specifically produced by one organ, and that acts as a chemical messenger for an endocrine of endocrine system. We do have hormones can be classified into three can be proteins, hormones can be steroids, can be amines. So proteins are composed of amino acids bonded together in peptide chains. Hormones secreted by pituitary gland and parathyroid gland are proteins. Steroids are a lipid synthesized from cholesterol. Hormones produced by adrenal cortex. Hormones produced by adrenal cortex are steroids, especially the portion of adrenal cortex, particularly zona reticularis. Hormones that is zona reticularis secretes are steroids. The other is amines. Amines are produced from amino acids, but do not contain peptide bonds. This is composed of amino acids with peptide chains or peptide bonds. This is do not contain peptide bonds. So thyroxine, epinephrine, norepinephrine are example of amine. Epinephrine and norepinephrine means the hormones of adrenal medulla. Thyroxine means T4, which is released by thyroid gland. So now we are starting the pure endocrine glands. The first and the best gland is pituitary gland. Pituitary gland lies below the hypothalamus and attached by a stalk or infundibulum with hypothalamus. So this is by the way, this is hypothalamus. This is pituitary gland, onion-like appearance, onion-like shape. So this is stalk or infundibulum. This stalk or infundibulum attaches pituitary gland with hypothalamus. Pituitary gland lies in the hypophyseal fossa of sella torsica of sphenoid bone. So hypophyseal fossa means hypophyseal fossa of sella torsica of in the sphenoid bone. There are fossa which is known as hypophyseal fossa of sella torsica, which is a base or it serves as a sitting area for pituitary gland. So pituitary gland has size and shape of pia. Pia means it is that it's a type of grain. So that pia means very small matter. So that it seems like pia. So it referred to as a master gland, by the way. Since it controls around 8 organs, pituitary gland is considered as master gland, but hypothalamus is master of master. Pituitary gland secretes several hormones, around 8 hormones minimum, several hormones that regulate the function of other endocrine glands. So this is very important function of pituitary gland. Pituitary gland has 2 lobes, or pituitary gland divided into 2. The one is anterior pituitary gland or anterior lobe, the other posterior pituitary gland or posterior lobes. So this is anterior pituitary gland, this is posterior pituitary gland. So anterior pituitary gland, posterior pituitary gland. So anterior adenohypophysis, anterior pituitary gland. Posterior pituitary gland is known as neurohypophysis. So this is a posterior gland, this is anterior pituitary gland. They are different in color. This is seems like more nervous. So hypothalamus hypophyseal tract is this tract which is continuous from the hypothalamus. So this is an optic chiasm. So now it's very important thing is here. So this is a pituitary gland. So this is hypothalamus. If you are magneting here, hypothalamus is here, median eminence is here, infundibulum is here. By the way, hypophyseal fossa of sella torsica of this is sphenoid bone. The sphenoid bone, especially known as hypophyseal fossa of sella torsica. This is serves as the base for pituitary gland. So we do have two types of pituitary gland, anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary in turn can be divided into three. The one is paras tubularis, paras intermedia, paras distalis. This large portion is known as paras distalis. This area is known as paras intermedia. This is paras distalis. This is paras intermedius, and also this thing is known as paras tubularis. These three parts are found under anterior pituitary. Similarly, posterior pituitary also divided into three. One is, this is the larger part here, is known as paras nervosa. Paras nervosa is here. The other is, this one is infundibular stalk. Infundibular stalk. But the third thing, this is not mentioned here, is median eminence. Median eminence is a part of posterior pituitary. Posterior pituitary. So we can classify in just like this portion. The other is now anterior lobe or anterior pituitary gland. Another name of anterior lobe is adenohypophysis, having three parts: paras distalis, intermedia, tubularis. So this is another picture. Paras nervosa, infundibular stalk, median eminence is considered as adenohypophysis, posterior pituitary gland. But paras intermedia, paras distalis, paras tubularis here, paras distalis here, paras intermedia is considered as adenohypophysis. Adenohypophysis. So this is anterior pituitary gland. This is posterior pituitary gland. Posterior pituitary gland. Posterior anterior lobe. Posterior pituitary gland. So this is also pituitary gland. As I mentioned before, this is the anterior pituitary gland, paras distalis. This is posterior pituitary gland, paras nervosa. But like other organs, pituitary gland also having nervous as well as blood supply. This is secondary capillary plexus. This is secondary capillary plexus. This is primary capillary plexus. Two plexus: primary capillary plexus and secondary capillary plexus. Superior hypophyseal artery. This is known as superior hypophyseal artery, which supplies the anterior pituitary gland, and this is inferior hypophyseal artery, which supplies the posterior pituitary gland. Hypophyseal portal veins. This is veins which drains the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland. So this is venous drainage. This is also venous drainage. So there is like others, there is also arterial and blood supply. Superior hypophyseal artery and inferior hypophyseal artery supplies the pituitary gland, and also similar veins drain the pituitary gland. So anterior lobe of pituitary gland secretes the following major hormones. The first one is thyroid stimulating hormone, act on the thyroid gland, secreted by pituitary gland, anterior pituitary gland, and also its activities on the thyroid gland. Their action. The second is adrenocorticotrophic hormone. Adrenocorticotrophic hormone has main action, or its action is on the adrenal gland. In the cortex. Adrenal gland on the cortex. So it's secreted by anterior pituitary gland. Follicle stimulating hormone is secreted by anterior pituitary gland and stimulates primary ovarian follicles in the ovary. So in the ovary, primary ovarian follicle, it stimulates the development of follicles in the ovary, because in the ovary there is primordial follicle, primary follicle, and Graafian follicle, mature follicle. So it controls this development. The third the fourth is luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone is important for ovulation in the ovary, but it's secreted by anterior pituitary gland. So in around 40th day there is ovulation. This ovulation is controlled by luteinizing hormone. The other is the melanocyte stimulating hormone. This causes synthesis of melanin hormone. This is melanin hormone. So the other is the other hormone is growth hormone. Growth hormone is important for stimulating growth. So our growth is led by growth hormone. And the other hormone is prolactin or lactogenic hormone. This prolactin hormone is used for milk production. By the way, the prolactin hormone is secreted around or at the time of birth, when the female or the woman is approaching birth. The prolactin hormone is produced and the milk production starts. So these are hormones which is produced by anterior pituitary hormone. These hormones also responsible for other organs to secrete their hormones. So anterior lobe hormones, growth hormone, somatotrophic. The growth hormone target organ and effects are liver, muscle and bones. Liver, muscle, bones, cartilage, like that. Effects of hyposecretion and hypersecretion. For instance, decrease in the growth hormone leads to dwarfism in children. Increase in growth hormone leads to giantism or acromegaly. Giantism in children, acromegaly in adults. This means very giantism or acromegaly means very long or very exaggerated physical appearance of one's person is giantism or acromegaly, as well as dwarfism means very short person, very short, extremely short is considered dwarfism. So this dwarfism and acromegaly or giantism is happened due to the amount of growth hormone secretion. The other is thyroid stimulating hormone or thyrotroph. Thyroid stimulating hormone is stimulates or acts on the thyroid gland here, on the thyroid gland. These four dots are known as parathyroid gland. So thyroid gland stimulates thyroid gland to release thyroid hormones. So decrease hormone leads to keratinism in children or myxedema in adults, and increase the amount of thyroid hormones leads to hyperthyroidism. Effects similar to those of Graves' disease, in which antibodies mimic thyroid stimulating hormone. So hypothyroidism is due to excessive production of thyroid hormone. Keratinism is due to a small production of thyroid hormones. The other is adrenocorticotropic hormone. This is happened on the adrenal cortex here, the outer part of. So promotes the release of glucocorticoids and androgens like mineralocorticoids to lesser extent. So less amount of adrenocortical hormone production is rare, but when the production is too much excessive, it leads to Cushing's disease. The other hormone is follicular stimulating hormone, gonadotroph. This hormone is act on the ovary and testes. This is testes. This is ovary. So this one is ovary. This is uterine tube. So ovaries and testes in females stimulates ovarian follicle maturation and estrogen production. In male stimulates sperm production. In female stimulates ovarian follicle maturation and estrogen production. So small amount of follicular stimulating hormone leads to failure of sexual maturation. Increased amount of follicular stimulating hormone leads to, by the way, no important effect in this way, but sexual maturation failure is due to less production of small amount little amount production of follicle stimulating hormone. The other is luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone is acts on the various testes. In females, triggers ovulation and stimulating ovarian production of estrogen and progesterone hormone. In male, promotes testosterone. In male, promotes testosterone production. So, as for follicular stimulating hormone, it is decrease production is failure of sexual leads for failure of sexual maturation. The other is prolactin. Prolactin hormone is found on the breast secretory tissue. Promotes lactation means increases the production of milk. The other is decrease the amount of prolactin, poor milk production in nursing women or in lactating women. In lactating, poor milk. The amount of prolactin decreases, poor milk production will be happened. The amount of prolactin hormone increases, inappropriate milk production, galactorrhea, cessation of menses in female, impotence in male, leads to impotence in male. Impotence means decreased sexual activity or energy for sex. So galactorrhea means too much excessive milk production in the female. So this is its activity. So this is all about anterior pituitary gland. Now we are starting posterior pituitary gland or lobe. This is known as neurohypophysis. By the way, this is anterior, this is posterior endocrine gland, this is posterior gland, posterior pituitary gland. So having three parts: para, nervosa, infundibular stack, median, eminence. So stores to hormone. Unlike to pituitary gland hormone, unlike to anterior pituitary hormone which secretes many hormones, posterior pituitary gland secretes two hormones. The one is antidiuretic hormone or ADH. The other is oxytocin hormone. ADH or antidiuretic hormone accelerates reabsorption of water from urine in the kidneys. By the way, in the collecting duct of the kidney, reabsorption of water controlled by ADH hormone, and it controls water balance in the body. So ADH is secreted by posterior pituitary gland in control of hypothalamus, so that it controls water in the, especially in the collecting duct of the kidney, and balance the water of the body. So the second one is oxytocin. Oxytocin stimulates contraction of smooth muscles of the pregnant uterus. It's very important thing here. By the way, oxytocin having two functions. The first function is stimulates the contraction of smooth muscle of the pregnant uterus. By the way, during the delivery, smooth muscle means uterus having three layers. The second layer is myometrium. Myometrium is smooth muscle, so that this myometrium contraction is controlled by oxytocin, which helps to deliver the pregnant woman or the preterm woman. So the one is important for delivery by stimulating the contraction of smooth muscles of the uterus or myometrium. The second function of oxytocin is important for milk ejection, not production. Production is prolactin, but oxytocin is used for milk ejection. When the baby or the newborn touches the breast of the mother, by this time ejection will be occurred. The produced milk is ejected and comes into the baby's or newborn's mouth. This ejection process is controlled by oxytocin. So one is milk ejection, the second is contraction, for stimulation of the contraction. So oxytocin has two functions. So oxytocin from neurons, paraventricular nucleus of hypothalamus, antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin from neurons in supraoptic neurons of hypothalamus. By the way, in the hypothalamus there are two nucleuses, supraoptic nucleuses. This supraoptic neurons secretes responsible for secretion of antidiuretic hormone for controlling, but paraventricular nucleus is for oxytocin. Supraoptic nucleus is for antidiuretic hormone. For oxytocin is, as I told you before, oxytocin has the one is action is on the uterus, stimulates uterine contraction and initiates labor for delivery. That means the second function is breast initiating milk ejection. Here I told you. So the antidiuretic hormone is kidney, stimulates kidney tubule cells to reabsorb water. So antidiuretic hormone secretion decreases, it leads to diabetes insipidus. But if antidiuretic hormone increases, syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone secretion. So cells of the pituitary gland, the picture is lost here. Cells of pituitary gland, cells which is found in the pituitary gland are, the first cell is somatotrophic cells which secrete growth hormone. The second is lactotrophic cells which secrete prolactin. The third is thyrotrophic cells which secrete thyroid stimulating hormone. The corticotrophic cells which secretes adrenocorticotrophic hormone and melanin stimulating hormone. The other is gonadotrophic cells. Gonadotrophic cells are responsible for secreting of follicular stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. So now we are completing about our pituitary gland. Now we are starting about thyroid gland, the second type of pure gland. So a butterfly shaped gland located in the anterior neck is called thyroid gland. Anterior and which is found on the anterior and lateral surface of trachea below larynx. It is the largest pure endocrine gland. It is the largest, composed of two lobes, having two lateral lobes, which these two lateral lobes is connected by an isthmus, connected by a narrow constricted portion which is called isthmus. So consists of many spherical hollow sacs. Thyroid gland contains many spherical hollow sacs. These sacs are known as thyroid follicles. These follicles are lined with simple cuboidal epithelium composed of follicular cells that synthesize two principal thyroid hormones. So thyroid follicles contain follicular cells. Follicular cells synthesize two thyroid hormones. Follicular cells synthesize two principal thyroid hormones. So between follicles there are epithelial cells also. These cells are known as parafollicular cells that produce hormone called calcitonin. So follicular cells secretes thyroid hormones. Parafollicular cells secretes calcitonin. So secretes hormones in response to stimulation by thyroid stimulating hormone from pituitary gland. So thyroid gland secretes hormones, these thyroid hormones, in response to stimulation by thyroid stimulating hormone from pituitary gland. So pituitary gland secretes hormones and controls thyroid gland. Thyroid gland also secretes other hormones based on the message of pituitary gland. So thyroid hormone and calcitonin is secretion of thyroid gland. So grossly or gross anatomy, this is thyroid gland, this is two lobes, this is isthmus. This is isthmus which is found on the anterior neck region here. This is thyroid gland, this is artery. So histologically this is thyroid gland. These are known as follicular cells. These are follicular cells. these are parafollicular cells. These are parafollicular cells, para adjacent to follicular cells. So these all are follicular cells, but these are the this color, this blue color is known as parafollicular cells, but this pink like color is cell follicular cells. This is fluid, is known as colloid. This is not colloid. This is tissue. This tissue is known as areolar connective tissue. This is a blood vessel. This is blood. This is blood capillary. This is capillary, blood capillary. So this is all about the thyroid gland. By the way, thyroid gland secretes two principal hormones. The one is thyroxine or T4. The other is triiodothyronine or T3. So this is very important hormones which is secreted by thyroid gland, T4 and T3. These hormones contain an element iodine, which is essential to function of hormone, which is essential for function of hormone. Their main function is increasing the basal metabolic rate. This is very important, by the way. Increasing basal metabolic rate. The function of T4 and T3 for accelerating basal metabolic rate at which the body uses oxygen to transform nutrient into energy. So the rate at which the body uses oxygen to transform nutrient into energy is known as basal metabolic rate. This is also the function of T3 and T4. Calcitonin. Let us see also calcitonin also secreted by thyroid gland, which when the blood calcium levels are high, the calcium lowers blood level of calcium by slowing the calcium releasing activity of osteoclasts in the bone. So by the way, calcitonin in general, which controls the calcium level found in the blood. So if the calcium level in the blood is low, it will increase, but the calcium level in the blood is high, it will decrease it. It minimize it. So the calcium, like parathyroid hormone, which is secreted by parathyroid gland, calcitonin also controls blood calcium level. So secretion, excessive secretion of thyroid hormones is known as hypersecretion. Low or small amount of secretion in thyroid hormone, little amount of secretion of thyroid glands or thyroid hormones is known as hyposecretion. So in the hypersecretion, like Graves' disease, elevated metabolic rate, rapid heart rate, sweating, nervousness, weight loss will be happened. In the case of hyposecretion of thyroid hormones, keratinism, mental retardation will be happened, or is a main manifestations in the system of thyroid. So goiter is one of the disorder in the thyroid gland. So goiter is a disease characterized by enlargement of thyroid gland. So the enlargement, an excessive anterior enlargement of thyroid gland is known as goiter, can result from insufficient level of iodine in the diet, either in the water or in the food or in the diet in general. Insufficient level, the amount of iodine is insufficient in diet is called results goiter or enlargement of thyroid gland. Thyroid requires iodine to synthesize the hormone thyroxine, that means T4. So, and iodine deficiency causes thyroid to swell. So iodine deficiency makes the iodine being enlarged or swell. So this is known as the goiter. So it's important to balance our iodine content or iodine amount in our food or diet or in our body. The third type of pure gland is known as parathyroid gland. 4 small glands lie on the posterior surface of the thyroid gland. composed of thyroid gland composed of two types of cells. Parathyroid gland contains two types of cells. The one is chief cells, the other is oxy fuel cells. Chief cells are small basophilic cells arranged in clusters, synthesize and secrete parathyroid hormone. Very nice. Chief cells which is found in the parathyroid gland secretes parathyroid hormone. High blood calcium level inhibit production of parathyroid hormone. Parathyroid hormone stimulates osteoclasts. By the way, osteoclasts are cells which degrade bone. That means which releasing calcium. So in this case, calcium amount increases and leads also decrease excretion of calcium by the kidney. In general, parathyroid hormone also controls calcium ion level in the blood to make increase or decrease. The other is oxy fuel cells. Oxy fuel cells are large eosinophilic cells. Those are present singly or in small clusters. Have no known function, but their number increases as age increases. Let us see. All these cells are known as chief cells of parathyroid gland. But these cells, this one, and these cells are known as oxy fuel cells. These are blood capillary. These are also blood capillary. This is blood capillary. This is connective tissue known as fibrous capsule of parathyroid gland. This is the border is known as fibrous capsule of the parathyroid gland. So the other types of gland is adrenal gland, or another name of adrenal gland is suprarenal gland. A paired adrenal or suprarenal gland are pyramidal or crescent shaped organs, lies on the superior surface of the kidney. By the way, they are found on the top of each kidney. So consists of two divisions or portions. Adrenal gland have two portions or divisions. The one is adrenal cortex, the other is adrenal medulla. So this is for instance adrenal gland. So the inner portion, this one is adrenal medulla, but the outer this one is adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex, the outer thickest region of adrenal gland. Thickest means to height or large diameter. So makes up to 80 to 90% of the volume of the gland. Synthesize and secrete various steroid hormones. What? Adrenal cortex. So histologically adrenal gland adrenal cortex divided into three concentric regions. The one is zona glomerulosa, the second is zona fasciculata, the third is zona reticularis. So this is the outer layer, middle layer, and the inner layer. So zona glomerulosa is responsible for synthesize and secrete mineralocorticoids. Example, aldosterone. Control the amount of minerals in the blood. So these hormones controls the amount of minerals in the blood. The second one is zona fasciculata. This is responsible for resynthesize and secrete glucocorticoids. Example, cortisol. This hormone production is stimulated by adrenocorticotrophic hormone of pituitary gland, anterior pituitary gland. So anterior pituitary gland acts on zona fasciculata to secrete cortisol. The function of zona fasciculata is maintain normal glucose concentration in the blood. The other is zona reticularis. Zona reticularis is responsible for synthesize and secrete small amount of sex hormones. So this hormone production is stimulated by adrenocorticotrophic hormone. These are regions of adrenal cortex. Let me show you. By the way, this is kidney. This is the adrenal gland. This outer part is known as adrenal cortex, whereas this inner part is known as adrenal medulla. Adrenal medulla having high blood supply. That's why, because this this blue and red color shows the veins and arteries which is found on the adrenal medulla. So adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla is a region of adrenal gland. So histologically this is gross. Histologically, when you stand here just like this is the outer one is known as capsule. This is capsule, and also the second region, this region is known as zona glomerulosa, whereas this region is known as zona fasciculata. This region known as zona reticularis, the third area. So after this, the region which is found above this is known as adrenal cortex, whereas the lower part is known as adrenal medulla. So histologically, using microscope, it seems like just like this appearance. Okay. The second one is adrenal medulla. Having specialized cells which is known as chromaffin cells. Chromaffin cells is secrete catecholamine which is known as epinephrine and norepinephrine. This catecholamine is released in response to intense emotional reaction. It is important for fight or flight activities. These two hormones are important. Fight or flight activities, or they are secreted on these activities, or when we have intense emotional reaction. So these hormones are the production of adrenal medulla by chromaffin cells. Okay. So the other gland is known as pineal gland, is known as pineal body. This is a small pin-conshaped structure on the roof of the encephalon. So pineal gland is found on the roof of the encephalon, around the hypothalamus. Pineal gland contains cells is known as pinealocytes. Pinealocytes secretes two hormones. The one is melatonin during night, the other serotonin during day. By the way, pineal gland is very important for controlling circadian rhythm. Okay, our day and night, our sleep induction is controlled by pineal gland. During night, melatonin hormone secretes and will induces sleep, so it regulates our sleep, and our sleep will be normal. Okay, our sleep will be adequate due to melatonin. In the case of serotonin, the day when the morning, when the sun rises, serotonin will be produced, and this serotonin makes us to be stimulated and to be active, free from depression or sleepiness. Okay, so due to these two hormones, our day and night will be regulated. The second type of function of pineal gland is reproductive system and gonadal activities regulated by pineal gland. Okay, our reproductive system and gonadal activities, like its growth and also its secretion, are controlled by pineal gland. So the activity of pineal gland is influenced by daily cycle of light and dark, as I told you before. So these two main functions are grouped under the pineal gland. So this is pituitary gland, this is hypothalamus, this is thalamus, this is pineal gland. Okay, pineal gland. So this is the encephalon, this is the roof of the encephalon. So this all are the encephalon. This is the posterior part of the encephalon. So this is a part of pineal gland. The other type of gland is hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is known as neuroendocrine gland because of having endocrine as well as nervous tissue. The actual production of the antidiuretic hormone, which is in the supraoptic nucleus, and oxytocin in the paraventricular nucleus. So actual production, even if this antidiuretic hormone and oxytocin is produced by posterior pituitary gland, since their nucleus is found on the hypothalamus of supraoptic nucleus and paraventricular nucleus, we can consider that the actual production is in the hypothalamus, okay, since high effect or high regulation is under hypothalamus, because of hypothalamus. So hypothalamus controls the release of antidiuretic hormone and oxytocin into the blood, okay, into the blood. It also secretes many hormone-like substances that control body functions such as body temperature, appetite, thirst. Like body temperature, appetite, thirst is controlled by hypothalamus. So the other is pancreas. Pancreas is positioned in the upper abdomen, just under the stomach, okay, under the stomach. The major part of the pancreas is called exocrine pancreas. So pancreas having two parts. The one is exocrine pancreas, the other is endocrine pancreas. So exocrine pancreas functions as an exocrine pancreas secretes like pancreatic juice, just like that. The other is so exocrine pancreas functions as exocrine gland, secretes digestive enzymes into GIT, like digestive enzymes like pancreatic juice. These are secreted by exocrine pancreas, or it is a function of exocrine gland, function as exocrine gland in this case. But endocrine cells of pancreas also function as endocrine, so contained in the spherical bodies called pancreatic isolates or isolates of Langerhans. So that now what I told you is that there is spherical bodies in that area, there is endocrine cells. This endocrine cells is known as isolates of Langerhans. So these are considered as endocrine tissue. So the main cell types in the isolates of Langerhans are 4 types, but mainly alpha and beta cells are the main types of cells. But there are alpha cells, beta cells, F cells and delta cells. So alpha cells or A cells secrete androgens, secrete glucagons. Alpha cells are secrete glucagons. Glucagons also is important to increase blood glucose level in the blood. The function of glucagon is increasing blood glucose level, whereas beta cells is responsible for secreting insulin. Its main function is to decrease blood glucose level. So the other type of cell is delta or D cells. This secretes somatostatin, hormone that inhibits secretion of glucagons and insulin by nearby alpha and beta cells. The other is PP cells or F cells, secrete pancreatic polypeptide PP. So F cells secrete pancreatic polypeptide, a hormone that may inhibit exocrine activity of pancreas. So these 4 types are cells of pancreas, which is found in the isolates of Langerhans. So these parts are endocrine parts, or endocrine tissues, which is found in the isolates of Langerhans. So let me show you. This is pancreas, which is found under stomach. So this all outer cell types. This all cell types is known as exocrine acne of pancreas, exocrine alpha of pancreas. Whereas the inner part is known as isolates of Langerhans. So these dark like cells are known as beta cells. This area pink like appearance is known as alpha cells. So these are cells. So alpha cells, beta cells are the main type of cells. Beta is secretes glucagon, alpha is secretes glucagon, beta is secretes insulin. So this is cells. The other cord of cells secrete insulin into capillaries. This is also capillaries. This white like appearance is known as capillaries. Capillaries. So this is all about the endocrine system. It was prepared in short form, so you can write by yourself. So this is also gives you hint about the endocrine system. Thank you for your attention, and to get the next chapter or the next chapter or the next portion, you can subscribe this channel, and if you have any question, please write it. Thank you very much for your attention.